All right, let's talk. But today, we're not talking about getting rich. No, we're talking about something way more important. How to not lose everything you've worked so hard for. The real question is, how strong is your financial fortress? Let's dig in and find out.
You know, it's kind of funny. We spend almost all our time and energy focused on financial offense, right? How to make more money, how to get that next big promotion, how to pick that one stock that's going to just take off. But what about defense? It's the side of the coin we almost never want to talk about.
But then, bam! One day, disaster just shows up at your door. A medical diagnosis, a lawsuit out of nowhere, a crazy market crash. In that single moment, all that earning potential, all your fancy offensive plays, they mean absolutely nothing. Your defense is the only thing that keeps you in the game.
It really all boils down to just one thing, doesn't it? Can you survive the hit? And our lesson today, it doesn't come from some gentle story about saving gold coins. Nope, it comes from the top of a city wall during a brutal siege. It's a war story.
Okay, so picture this. The great city of Babylon. The king is away fighting a war, and he's taken the main army with him. A rival army sees its chance, and boom, they launch a massive surprise attack, completely surrounding the city. The people of Babylon are trapped, and they are facing total annihilation.
And we're seeing all this unfold through the eyes of Bonzar, this grim old warrior standing guard on the walls. Below him, a sea of enemy soldiers. You can hear the battering rams just smashing against the gates, arrows raining down like a storm. And inside the city, it is just absolute, pure panic.
The citizens, they're terrified. They run to Bonzar, desperate for answers. A wealthy merchant, his hands literally shaking, asks him if the walls are going to hold. He's suddenly realizing that all his gold, all his riches, are completely worthless if those walls come down.
And then a mother comes up, clutching her child, and she voices the fear that's underneath it all. For her, it's not about wealth, it's about survival. What happens to her child if the defenses fail? I mean, the stakes just couldn't be any higher.
But Bonzar, he is just a rock. He doesn't panic. He's the definition of calm. He tells them the walls are strong because he knows they're strong. It's not a guess. He knows exactly how they were built and that they were designed for this exact worst-case scenario.
But the siege just drags on. For 3 long weeks, the city is completely cut off. Food is getting scarce. Hope is running even lower. The citizens are just convinced they're doomed. But every single time they ask, Bonzar gives them the same answer. The walls will hold. And then, in the 4th week, it happens. The king's army returns, smashing the enemy from behind. The siege is broken. The city is saved. The merchant gets to keep his gold, and the mother gets to keep her child, all because the walls held.
And that right there, that's the core lesson of this whole story. Protection isn't some extra little thing you think about later. It's a deep, fundamental human need. Those walls weren't a luxury item. They were the single most important investment that city ever made.
So, okay, cool story. But why does an ancient war story actually matter to you, right here, right now? Well, because it's not just a story. It's actually a perfect metaphor for your financial life. Let's just be really direct about this. In this metaphor, you are the city of Babylon. And there is always an enemy out there just waiting for an opportunity.
The parallels are just there one for one. Your family, your dreams, your home, your whole lifestyle, that's the city that you have built. The attacking army? Well, that's tragedy. It's a sudden illness, a bad car accident, a lawsuit, a job loss, an economic crash. And the wall? The wall is your financial defense system.
So what is this wall in today's terms? Simple. It's your combined insurance policies and your cash reserves. It's the structure you have to build before an attack ever comes, designed to absorb the shock and protect everything you care about from a total wipeout. And here's maybe the most critical lesson we can take from Bonsai. You can't start building a wall when the arrows are already flying at you. It's too late. The defenses have to be in place before the crisis hits. So let's talk about the 3 essential layers you need to build today. Your modern financial fortress needs 3 walls. These are non-negotiable. First, you need an emergency fund for those immediate threats. Think of it as your outer perimeter. Second, you need the big, heavy-duty walls of insurance for the truly catastrophic stuff. And third, you need diversification to protect your investments from having a single point of failure. Each wall protects you from a different kind of attack. Okay, wall number 1, your emergency fund. This is your first line of defense. It's for the smaller but way more common attacks. You know, the car transmission that just dies, the unexpected medical bill, or a sudden job loss.
Having 3 to 6 months of your living expenses just sitting in cash, that's what prevents a nasty surprise from turning into a full-blown disaster that shoves you deep into debt.
Now for the big stone walls, insurance. It is so easy to think, oh, it won't happen to me. But Banzer would tell you that's a fool's bet. Health insurance literally prevents one bad surgery from bankrupting you. Life insurance? That's a non-negotiable wall that protects your entire future if you're suddenly gone. And please don't forget liability insurance. It's the thing that shields everything you've built from one devastating lawsuit.
And wall number 3 is diversification. Look, if your entire fortune is tied up in one single asset, the enemy only has to find one weak spot in your wall to bring the whole thing down. But when you diversify, you reinforce the entire structure. There's no single point of failure. One part might get hit, sure, but the rest of the wall stands strong.
So let's bring it all back to Banzar's simple, powerful wisdom. We cannot afford to be without adequate protection. Being wealthy isn't just about how much you can pile up, it is fundamentally about how much you can keep. It's about preservation.
Just think about that merchant again. He could have spent 20 years of his life building that fortune, but without the walls of Babylon, he would have lost every last bit of it in 20 minutes. The exact same thing is true for you and me.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. Take a hard look at your own financial fortress. Do you have that emergency fund ready to go? Are you properly insured for the big stuff? Are your investments spread out? Seriously ask yourself, are my walls high enough? Because a siege, it can begin at any moment.
In our next explainer, we're going to leave the battlefield and head back to the marketplace. We're going to meet a man who was once a slave, totally buried in debt, and will break down the famous step-by-step plan he used to buy back his own freedom. I'll see you there.